Life doesn't just happen, it responds. Every action, every choice, every thought we repeat quietly shapes the direction of our lives. Some call it luck, others call it destiny. But behind every fortunate person lies one simple truth. They learn to master themselves before trying to master the world. Most people drift through life unaware of this invisible law, the law of cause and effect, that connects their habits, their thoughts, and their destiny. They chase success without realizing that the real power to shape their future lies within. In this audiobook summary of The Mastery of Destiny by James Allen, created by Audiobook 101, you'll discover how self-control, willpower, and focused thought can transform not only what you achieve, but who you become. You'll learn the science of discipline, the art of concentration, and the mindset that allows ordinary people to rise above circumstances and take command of their fate. This isn't just another motivational story. It's a timeless guide to building inner strength, clarity, and purpose in a world full of distractions. Stay tuned till the end and discover how to move from chance to choice, from confusion to clarity, and truly become the master of your destiny. Deeds, character, and destiny. Throughout history, people have tried to make sense of life's mysterious turns, the moments that seem to happen without reason. Some call it luck, others call it destiny. There are things in life we can't control, no matter how hard we try. We don't decide when or where we're born, and we cannot choose when our journey will end. These events belong to a greater force, the rhythm of life and death that only the divine understands. Every living being comes into this world and must one day leave it. This truth humbles us, reminding us that some parts of life lie forever beyond human command. Because of this uncertainty, people often fear destiny. It feels like an invisible power, one that can lift or crush us without warning. But what exactly is destiny? Is it something written long before we were born? Or is it the outcome of the choices we make every single day? Imagine this. One morning, your usual train to work is delayed. Frustrated, you decide to take the bus instead. As you sit down, you notice a woman who looks familiar. After a few moments, you realize she was your classmate years ago. You start talking, and she tells you she just moved back to the city for a new job. You hadn't seen each other in years, and yet there you are, sitting side by side again. Was that just coincidence? Or was it destiny bringing your paths together? If you asked a poet, he would call it fate, the mysterious hand of the universe weaving invisible threads between people and events. We see this idea in countless stories where heroes try to escape their fate. No matter how hard they fight, destiny always seems to find a way. But if that's true, what happens to human freedom? Do we really have the power to shape our own lives, or are we simply following a script written long ago? This question, the struggle between destiny and free will, has existed since the dawn of philosophy. On one side lies determinism, the belief that everything is already decided, and that humans are merely actors following a divine plan. On the other side lies free will, the belief that we are the authors of our own story, capable of choosing and changing our path at any moment. Take Wendy, for example. She deeply believes that her life is predetermined. Her faith teaches her that God has already written every chapter of her story, from her triumphs to her troubles. She lives with a calm acceptance, convinced that whatever happens is meant to be. Now, meet Beth. She believes in freedom, in making her own decisions and creating her own opportunities. To her, life is not fixed but fluid. Every choice she makes changes her future. There is no pre-written destiny, only possibilities waiting for her to act on them. Both Wendy and Beth have valid points. Life cannot be entirely predetermined, yet it isn't entirely free either. There exists a balance, a meeting point between fate and freedom. This is what James Allen calls moral causation, the law of cause and effect that governs human life. Every action produces a reaction. Every decision sets into motion a series of outcomes. This law connects destiny with character, because who we are shapes what we do, and what we do shapes what happens to us. In this sense, your free will is the cause, and destiny is the effect. And let's look at an example. Hannah works in a small restaurant. She treats every customer with warmth and respect, not because she has to, but because she chooses to. She understands that her behavior leaves an impact, that kindness multiplies. One day, a tired and unhappy customer walks in. Hannah greets him with her usual smile, and for a few moments he feels lighter. Before leaving, he compliments her attitude and says her positivity made his day better. That simple moment changes Hannah too. From that day onward, she begins to see her job differently. She realizes that her small acts of kindness can brighten someone's world. Her cheerful presence soon catches the attention of another customer who offers her a better position at his company. That opportunity would never have appeared had she not first chosen to act with patience, warmth, and sincerity. This is the essence of moral causation, the invisible chain linking our inner world to the outer world. Destiny isn't something that happens to us. It's something we help create through our thoughts, our deeds, and our character. The law of cause and effect is always at work, quietly shaping the future through the choices we make today. The science of self-control. We are fortunate to live in an age defined by science and discovery, a time when human curiosity and intellect have transformed the world. Every corner of modern life reflects the power of scientific progress. The phone in your hand, the cars on the road, the machines that build our cities, all a living proof of humankind's endless quest to understand and control the forces of nature. For centuries, people have studied the stars, the oceans, the weather, and even the smallest particles that make up the universe. Science has given us comfort, convenience, and power over the external world. But in this pursuit, one vital field of study has been neglected: the science of understanding and mastering ourselves. This, James Allen calls the science of self-control. Self-control is not about restriction or denial. It's about learning to guide the inner elements that make us human: our emotions, our willpower, our desires, our intellect, and even our habits. These are the invisible forces that drive every decision we make. Just as a scientist studies nature through patient observation and disciplined experimentation, a wise person studies the self with the same level of care and attention. Mastering self-control is a lifelong process. No one achieves it overnight. It takes awareness, patience, and constant learning, just like any great scientific discovery. The first step begins with introspection. The quiet act of observing your own thoughts. It means turning inward and noticing how your mind behaves in different situations. How do you react when you're angry, frustrated, or hurt? What thoughts arise when things don't go your way? This self-observation reveals patterns you may not even realize exist. Many people never take this step, which is why their impulses often end up controlling them. Take Anne, for instance. Anne loved shopping. It was her way to escape boredom and stress, but over time, her habit became a problem. She began spending more than she earned, ignoring her bills, and distancing herself from friends who tried to warn her. The happiness she got from shopping was short-lived, replaced by guilt and emptiness. When Anne finally began to look inward, she realized her behavior wasn't about clothes or money. It was about trying to fill an emotional void she had never addressed. This moment of realization led her to the second phase, self-analysis. Once you observe your thoughts, you begin to question them. Which ones uplift you, and which ones pull you down? Which desires lead to peace, and which to regret? Anne began to notice how her momentary excitement was followed by disappointment. Her spending wasn't solving her problems. It was creating new ones. Through this process, she began to separate her temporary feelings from her long-term well-being. With awareness came the next step, adjustment. When you know your strengths and weaknesses, you can begin to realign your thoughts and actions. You start clearing your inner world just as a gardener removes weeds from the soil. Negative thoughts are replaced with healthier ones. Anne began changing her perspective. She told herself that happiness didn't have to come from material things. She started walking in nature, spending time with friends again, and rediscovering the joy of simple living. Slowly, her life began to feel lighter and more meaningful. As this inner transformation deepened, Anne learned the importance of righteousness, acting with integrity and moral clarity. Every action, no matter how small, carries its own consequence. Wrong actions can never lead to lasting peace, just as deceit can never bring true joy. Anne realized that every reckless purchase had once brought her excitement, but later filled her with guilt. Now, by choosing honesty and discipline, she began to experience a calm sense of happiness that no object could replace. And finally came pure knowledge, the wisdom that grows naturally after one has walked through the earlier stages. When you understand yourself, your desires, your weaknesses, your triggers, you no longer act blindly. You begin to predict your own thoughts and steer them in the right direction. You make conscious choices instead of reacting impulsively. This is the true reward of self-control, the quiet power to remain steady and free in every situation. Through introspection, self-analysis, adjustment, righteousness, and understanding, you cultivate mastery over your inner world. You no longer live as a prisoner of your impulses, but as their guide. This inner discipline doesn't just make life peaceful, it makes it powerful. For when you learn to control yourself, you gain control over your destiny. Training of the will. Now that you've learned to observe your mind and understand how it works, the next step is to strengthen it. A strong mind builds a strong character, and character is the foundation of success. No one ever achieved greatness without willpower. It is that quiet, invisible force that allows you to rise when everything else seems to fall apart. So, how can we train the will? How can we develop inner strength that does not waver under pressure? James Allen reminds us that willpower is not a gift, it's a muscle. Just like physical strength, it grows through practice, discipline, and daily effort. You don't need grand gestures to build it. Small, consistent acts of control and focus are enough to transform your mind over time. The first lesson is to let go of bad habits. It sounds simple, yet it's one of the hardest things to do. Bad habits often come disguised as comfort. They bring temporary pleasure, but long-term weakness. Whether it's procrastination, overindulgence, or any other destructive routine, these habits quietly drain your inner strength. Every time you give in to them, your will becomes weaker. Breaking them may be painful at first, but it's a necessary step toward freedom. True willpower begins when you can say no to yourself. Once you begin removing harmful habits, the next step is to build good ones. Nature doesn't allow a vacuum. When one thing leaves, something else must replace it. So when you let go of what weakens you, fill that space with habits that make you stronger. Wake up early, plan your day, read, meditate, or spend your time purposefully. Good habits purify the mind, bring clarity, and lead you closer to your life's purpose. You cannot discover your true direction in life until your mind becomes still and disciplined. Third, focus on the present moment. One of the greatest enemies of willpower is distraction. In an age of constant noise, multitasking feels productive, but often scatters your attention. When your mind jumps between 10 different things, it loses its sharpness. Deep concentration, on the other hand, is like sunlight focused through a lens. It can burn through obstacles. Train yourself to do one thing at a time, completely and wholeheartedly. This single habit will strengthen your will more than you can imagine. Fourth, do everything with a sense of duty. Whatever your role is, as a student, parent, professional, or friend, fulfill it with sincerity. Avoid laziness and the habit of postponing what needs to be done. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," your will weakens a little more. The discipline of acting now, of doing what must be done today, builds unshakable inner power. Remember, strength is not built in great moments of glory, but in small acts of responsibility carried out faithfully every day. Fifth, live by principles, not impulses. Obedience to one's own higher values is a mark of strength. Many people mistake freedom for doing whatever they want, whenever they want. But real freedom comes from self-control, from being guided by conscience and wisdom, not by temporary emotions. Passion can inspire you, but without discipline, it can also destroy you. A strong will means having the courage to do what's right, even when it's inconvenient or unpopular. Sixth, learn to control your tongue. Words are powerful. They can heal or harm, encourage or destroy. Those who speak without thinking often regret later. Try the practice of silence for a few minutes each day. Restrain yourself from reacting instantly, especially when you're angry or hurt. The person who can stay calm and choose their words carefully is the one who truly masters their will, because the tongue and the mind are connected. If one is restless, the other can never be still. And finally, the seventh step, master your mind itself. Once you begin practicing the earlier disciplines, breaking bad habits, nurturing good ones, focusing your attention, fulfilling your duties, following principles, and controlling your speech, your mind naturally starts to obey you. It stops wandering aimlessly and becomes a loyal servant rather than a rebellious master. At this stage, you no longer live reactively. You think before you act, you choose before you speak, and you move with purpose instead of impulse. This is the true power of will, a quiet, steady strength that carries you through storms, distractions, and temptations. When your will is trained, your destiny is no longer a mystery. It becomes something you create, one choice, one action, one disciplined thought at a time. Cultivation of concentration. Concentration is one of the most powerful abilities of the human mind. When you learn to direct all your attention toward a single purpose, you become unstoppable. Tasks that once seemed difficult suddenly become manageable. You make fewer mistakes, waste less time, and accomplish more with less effort. In short, concentration multiplies the power of your mind. But it's important to understand that concentration itself is not the final goal. It's a tool, a method. Simply staring at an object for hours or fixating on a meaningless point is not true concentration. It's only stillness without direction. Real concentration has purpose. It's like a ladder. Its only use is to help you climb upward. Once it helps you reach a higher place, its job is done. In the same way, concentration is meant to help you move toward your goals, not to keep you standing still. True concentration is always tied to a meaningful objective. Whether you're studying, writing, designing, or building, your ability to focus determines the quality of your results. And like every other skill, it can only be developed through practice. The more you train your mind to stay fixed on one thing, the stronger it becomes. At its core, concentration is a form of self-control. It strengthens the mind just as exercise strengthens the body. Every time you resist distraction and bring your focus back to your task, you're training your will. You're teaching your mind to obey your purpose rather than your impulses. Let's look at how concentration grows through different stages. The first stage is attention. This is the basic act of focusing your awareness on something. It may sound simple, but for many people, attention is scattered across countless things, notifications, worries, and background noise. A distracted mind is a weak mind. Those who cannot pay attention rarely finish anything of value. Consider Brian, a college student preparing for his final exams. He wakes up determined to study all day, but as soon as he opens his book, his phone buzzes. A message here, a social media alert there. Within minutes, his focus breaks. Finally, Brian decides to put his phone in another room. This simple act, removing the source of distraction, marks his first real step toward developing concentration. The second stage is contemplation, where attention becomes sustained. Brian manages to study for half an hour without interruption. His mind begins to settle into the rhythm of focused work. However, maintaining this state isn't easy. After a short break, he checks his phone again and ends up losing 20 minutes scrolling aimlessly. Getting back into focus now feels twice as hard. This is what happens to most people. Concentration wavers unless it's trained through repetition and discipline. The third stage is abstraction, when focus deepens so fully that the outside world fades away. Brian eventually experiences this while studying. His mind is so absorbed in his work that even the doorbell startles him as if he has just awakened from a dream. In that moment, his entire being, his thoughts, energy, and awareness, is directed toward one purpose. The final stage is known as activity in repose. Pure, effortless concentration. Here, the mind works with full strength yet feels no strain. You are deeply engaged but inwardly calm. Energy flows smoothly, and work becomes almost meditative. For Brian, this stage arrives after months of steady effort. His focus no longer shatters at every distraction. Even in a noisy environment, his mind remains steady, like a candle flame unmoved by the wind. Reaching this level of concentration is not easy, but it's possible for anyone who practices daily. The more effort you put into controlling your attention, the more power you gain over your mind. And when your mind obeys you, there is no limit to what you can achieve. Concentration turns scattered thoughts into purposeful action, and that, more than anything else, is what shapes a life of mastery. Conclusion. Throughout this journey, we've explored one of life's greatest truths, that destiny is not a mystery written in the stars, but a masterpiece crafted by your own hands. The debate between determinism and free will may never end, but James Allen shows us that the answer lies in balance. Life is shaped both by the laws of cause and effect, and by the freedom we hold to choose our actions within them. Every thought, every decision, every deed plants a seed, and sooner or later, we must face its fruit. To master your destiny, you must first master yourself. Right actions lead to right outcomes. Wrong actions lead to suffering. Destiny does not reward chance, it rewards character. And character is built through the quiet, disciplined practice of self-control. Self-control is a science, the art of directing the forces within you. It means mastering your passions instead of being ruled by them. It begins with introspection and self-analysis, grows through adjustment and righteousness, and finally blossoms into pure knowledge, the wisdom to guide your own mind. You've learned that luck favors the strong, not the physically strong, but those whose will is unshakable. Willpower isn't something we're born with, it's something we build. Each small act of discipline, giving up bad habits, developing good ones, living in the present, fulfilling your duties, following your principles, speaking with care, and controlling your thoughts, all of these daily choices forge the strength of your will. And then there is concentration, the silent power that turns scattered energy into focused creation. When your mind can hold steady like a calm flame, distractions lose their power. You begin to work with clarity, efficiency, and peace. Attention grows into contemplation, contemplation into deep absorption, and finally into that still, powerful state where work feels effortless and purpose becomes clear. No one can control every twist of life. Fate will always play its part. But within those boundaries, you hold immense power. You can shape your path through your thoughts, your choices, and your character. Remember this: you are not the victim of destiny, you are its author. This is the mastery of destiny, a timeless reminder that your life is written not by circumstance, but by choice. You've just finished The Mastery of Destiny, a timeless reminder that every thought, every habit, every choice quietly builds the life you live. If this summary inspired you, imagine what your next decision could create. Because the moment you take control of your thoughts, you begin to shape your future. This audiobook summary was created by Audiobook 101, where powerful books meet powerful minds. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe, tap the bell icon, and explore more life-changing audiobooks that help you grow, think, and achieve more every single day. Stay inspired, and remember, your destiny begins with your next thought.